So here we go.
Okay.
We're going live. Hey everyone. I hope you can hear me. This is Scott Roberts from Explore Scientific. And I'm here with Pranvera Hyseni. And Pranvera and I did a Facebook Live yesterday, but unfortunately, well, no, maybe fortunately, you could hear her, but you couldn't hear me. So I said, Guy, I got to do this all over again. But anyways, Pranvera, thank you again for doing this. I know that you get asked all the time to do interviews, and you're quite good. But we should probably start out a little bit to hear about your background and the inspiration that you had in doing astronomy and astronomy outreach, and especially about Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for actually inviting me to be on this live Facebook interview. It's a great honor. And thanks to everyone else who is willing to watch and hear about AOK. So I am currently in the United States, actually staying in Phoenix in Arizona, and I'm just trying to prepare for grad school, but as you know, I am the lead for the Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo program, which is a 5-year-old organization that I founded 5 years ago in 2015. So the main goal with that organization in our country was to actually uh, to public educating and do outreach and just popularize the science of astronomy, because it wasn't, and it's still not very developed in our country. It's really not very popular. It's not like we have all these astronomers who comes in our town or schools to show us telescopes like it happens here in the United States usually. But it's a lot different. So by founding that organization and by managing to meet with a lot of astronomers and collecting donations, especially equipments, then we managed to actually have a good asset and just go out there and share everything with the public, with the young people, with
I,
the schools, university. It was a great thing to do, and we are just keeping it up.
that's fantastic. So um, uh, let's go back a little bit and talk about when you were of course you're still young, but when you were when you first got really interested in astronomy, what was the spark? What was it that made you go, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Astronomy was one of the things that I started, being interested as a kid. I remember I was 3 years old in the late 19s when actually in Kosovo where there was the war going on still, and it was a solar eclipse that was happening, and I remember
Ah,
people were panicking, including my family actually, and
seriously?
some families wouldn't even let kids go to school. They would panic, think like it's gonna be the end of the world or whatever. I mean, this is the thing that the public really wasn't educated about astronomy. And but my grandfather, luckily, he knew what's going on, and he took me and my family. Of course, we didn't have a telescope or solar glasses, but we were looking at the eclipse in a bucket filled with water, and we had to keep
Oh,
the bucket
smart.
inside so the sun, from the window, because if it was outside, the water from the wind will blow off
But
and move. But as a kid, I was like, "What is that?
that,
Like, why is
that's
it
that's
happening?"
smart.
And
Yeah.
I loved that. And since then, I just wanted to learn more and know more. And then when I went to school, being
Hmm.
interested in science, and then I got my first telescopes and a lot more telescopes, and then traveling and got to visit observatories and all these NASA centers. It's just something that I think I'm determined to do as a career in my life, hoping to pursue a PhD in planetary science.
That's right. That's right. So, and you hope to complete that PhD in the United States, possibly?
Yes, I graduated geography, my bachelor's back home, which was last month or 2 months ago. So I came here with the purpose of preparing for grad school. I am interested in the universities here in Arizona,
Hmm.
especially one in Tucson, Lunar and Planetary Lab. But since being a foreigner, I have to go through a process with
Yeah.
some exams and all that. So I'm here right now trying to deal with all of those, and then probably, deliver my applications in a few universities, and anywhere in the United States. I would be lucky and be honored to actually do a master's and PhD.
Sure,
So,
sure. Well,
yeah.
I know that all the astronomical community is so happy to have you here in the United States. You know, it was like I think people probably fight over who is going to get Pranvera to lecture, you know, at their facility next. So,
Well, I'm very happy because everyone has been very welcoming, very caring. Whenever I came here in the last 2 years, they have been hosting me and showing me around and helping me out, supporting me in
mhm.
my program and everything I've done. So I'm very thankful to everyone that has been taking care of me during my journey here in the United
Awesome.
States.
That's awesome. I that reflects well on the astronomical community, and that you know that's something I also experienced as someone who was quite young, getting into amateur astronomy. Within months, I was introduced to professional scientists, professional astronomers. Eventually, was introduced to astronauts and all of this, and it's just like so many doors open with astronomy. And, you know, I think that's happened for you too. And it's something that you know, I wish I could go and do it all over again to be fresh in it again because it was so amazing, you know. And I see that happening for you too. I see your posts on Facebook and the people you're with and the places you're going. And I mean, lately, what you've been doing is you're in Tucson. This is like an astronomer's Disneyland, okay? Um, and
Yeah.
we saw like a string of posts where you're looking at all these amazing meteorites.
Yeah, actually, that was my first long distance trip drive alone in United
Oh,
States. So it's
wow.
a lot different, like coming in another country, driving by yourself in a long distance. So it was the first thing to do, but I was very excited. And I visited the Aerolite meteorites. They provided me a private tour. So I met Geoff Notkin and Christian Mesa and all
Oh,
their staff. They were super friendly. They showed me all their collection, and I got to hold, big
oh,
meteorites,
I saw
and
that
it
big
was so
palisite you had. It was
yeah.
incredible, you know.
I
So,
actually posted a video about that, so if anyone is curious, they can go and check my Facebook
yeah.
profile. It was really a big slice and very thin, so it was, if you put that, against the light, you could just see through it. It
Oh, yeah.
was incredible. I loved it.
Yeah, maybe one day we can have like windows made with palisite meteorite, you know, so
Interesting. That would
when
be
we're
something.
multimillionaires, we can do that. That stuff is expensive. But let's go back a little bit to the formation of Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo. I in our last conversation, you talked about that you felt the need to create this kind of organization. But how, in fact, did you do it? Was it like just kind of forming a club? Was it? Did you have to? Did you do it formally or informally? How is the
Yeah.
Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo? Uh,
Well, I am involved in outreach for the last 9 years. So for the last decade, I've been doing outreach nonstop. So I started it by myself by using a really small telescope. So I would just go in another school or in my school or, participate in other events or just gather with my neighbors and observe all this, but it wasn't something formal. And after actually receiving even more equipment by astronomers around the world, especially the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project, Stephen Ramsden, who sent like 70% of all the equipment we have right now, all the solar telescopes and all that.
that
So I
guy's
had
amazing.
all these equipment, but it was
Hmm.
also difficult to manage and use all of them like by yourself. Like you will get all these people, and they had to wait until I have to put them together and everything. And every time I kept doing it, I could see more interest from the people.
I
And
see.
then there were also other students who just wanted to do that, so we meet up and they just wanted to work together. So I had the idea of forming this organization. So we never had one, and it was the first one. It was like a challenge, so we started it very amateur type organization with very young kids, But right now it has grown up so much, and it has done a huge impact in our country. For the last 5 years, we're like over 200 members now,
Wow.
and most of them are college students. We have teachers, we have young kids, we have all sort of ages that participate and want to give their contribution and also learn at the same time.
Hmm.
So I have a board of 9 people. They're amazing, and right now, as I'm staying here in the United States, they're back home using all the telescopes and going in the schools, doing everything. It's like amazing to see that how
Right.
far
So
we have come.
it's kind of running
And
by itself now. It has a life of its
exactly.
own.
And also, my purpose was somehow through this organization to represent our country in the world, to just get our name out there and show people that, hey, we are a country that we are determined to do science. We have talented kids, we have the passion, and we need help.
Hmm.
And we got the help from all the countries, and I'm very
Hmm.
thankful that everyone has shown consideration against us, toward us, inviting us to speak to places, to present, to learn, to operate telescopes, even get our logo in the International Space Station. That was
Oh,
like,
I didn't know that. That's so cool.
yeah, I was very excited myself.
Oh
I was
yeah.
like just crying when I saw that. But it's
Yeah, I can imagine. So that's
yeah,
fantastic. Uh, so let's talk a little bit about Kosovo. Kosovo, 20 some odd years ago, was involved in a nasty war. And, um, you mentioned you were just a child as the war is coming to a close and all the rest of it. Uh, how how needed was science in your country? I mean, I would think that that there were a lot of challenges in rebuilding the country, and
yeah,
I kind of see your activity. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I see your activity as inspiring all of the citizens of Kosovo. With science and that this is something that young people would have just gobbled up. That this is something that they badly needed, and but I also think that perhaps there might have been some people that thought that this was a wrong direction. That why is this young woman here, this girl, trying to do something in science and astronomy? I mean, she doesn't have a PhD, right? So
yeah, I get
right,
it.
so those had to be some challenges.
Yeah, our country unfortunately was involved in a war, splitting from Yugoslavia, and then it happened to be a bad war, and I had to live through that. So I was 3, 4 years old. I remember parts of it. I also lost family members during the war,
Oh,
and it was bad. So
yeah.
growing up and then having to live and to wait for your country to be independent, it was quite something. So I'm very glad that right now we have the independence, and we are trying to rebuild our country back. But the only way we can do that is through education, through science,
Right.
through good things.
That's
And
right.
we are a small country. I mean, it doesn't take like a lot of things to make our country back, because it's a small. We can do that, but we have to
Mm.
stick together and work and have a goal and reach that. So I started doing astronomy, and of course, like everybody else, you're gonna face all kinds of problems. You're gonna have to work with all kinds of people to actually do something, and
Hmm.
sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes, yeah, you will have these people that they will kind of judge you because you're a female, or they will judge you because of your education, or they will not believe in your knowledge and all that. But at the same time, you have all these other people after you who are following you and for whom you are becoming a role model. And I'm very glad for that, because right now there are females in Kosovo that are determined to become an astronaut. I
That's
have a
awesome.
lot of, actually, the percentage in my organization is more female than males, and I'm so happy for that.
Oh,
I'm
that's
really
wow.
happy.
That's
Yeah,
that's
so
really
like
amazing.
all these,
I see
all these,
that as a certainly a huge growing trend. With females being involved in science. I admire many female astronomers. Jean Mueller, Carolyn Shoemaker, amateur astronomers too. Terry Mann. I have a long, long list, but I have daughters, and I want them to have a prosperous life. No matter what it is that they choose, and I see you as a huge inspiration for that.
Well, thank you. And that's why I was very determined to keep this going. No matter what barrier I had in front of me, I decided to actually just keep working. So every time I did that, I just would get more people after me. My organization would grow more. And right now, I'm so happy. It's something very nice happening back home. And I have all these people working there, so I don't have to worry that I'm here doing a master's or PhD, because I know I left something great behind of me.
And I read that I brought this up before, but you were included as one of the top 5 most influential women in Kosovo. I mean, that is an incredible honor. But you said that was a surprise.
Yeah, because usually that happened in the end of I don't know, last year, I think. Yeah. Usually they select some people that are the most influential, and this happened by one of the TVs there, state TVs.
Okay.
So I saw my name on that documentary, on that list, and I was like, oh my gosh. It was quite an honor. I was very happy, because after a while then you just see how much impact you have done, because people will recognize that.
That's right.
And I was very happy, really. I was very honored to be one of the 5 most influential women in my country, and I just hope that this will, continue to inspire more people, not just women, all the young people and old people and everyone else in the world, actually.
That's right. Yeah, and so the fact that you're traveling all over the world, you've been all over the United States now. You were with us at Yerkes during the moment that we were afraid that Yerkes was being shut down at the Starlight Festival. Now that's coming back, so we're so pleased about that.
Yeah, I read the news that you posted about it. I was quite excited because I felt bad. But you know what? I believe in America. I know that everything
That's right.
amazing here. So I knew that something is good is going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
So I wasn't too afraid.
That's right. Well, that's great. You've had other honors too. You have an asteroid named after you. I know that you were very pleased about that. Tell me more about that. This
Sure.
minor planet that you have out there.
Yeah, one of the coolest thing in astronomy that I like to do, and probably I wouldn't mind doing it as a regular job, is looking for near-Earth objects. And I have had the opportunity to meet some of the people that does it regularly, like Brian Skiff at Lowell Observatory, or Jim Scotty at Kitt Peak, and Rick Hill at Catalina Sky Survey. All these guys,
iconic astronomers. Yeah.
I envy these guys that they do that, because I love doing it. And luckily, I had the opportunity to learn to use some of the softwares and have some of the catalogs that are needed for that. But because my telescopes back home are not static, they're not an observatory, and they're quite small, I can't really do a lot of this. But when I went in Australia 3 years ago, my friends gave me equipment, like cameras and softwares, and at least teach me how to do that. Taught me, because my English is not so good all the time.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. My English isn't so good either.
When I travel, like when I went to Argentina this year, or when I come here in the United States, astronomers usually will allow me to have access to their observatories so I can use them and I can look for asteroids. Usually I like to look for them when they're like discovered a night or two ago, and then I like to just see if I can find them or reconfirm that, even though I can't officially do that because maybe the observatories are not registered in the Minor Planet Center, but it's still a cool thing. And also another cool thing is like pointing these telescopes to this asteroid that actually has my name, and it's quite a cool thing to just
Sure it is.
and when the telescope's loose and this tiny object is out there and the software says that it's Pranvera Hyseni asteroid, And it's really amazing. I love it. It's just looking at it, and I wanted to actually know more about it. I
Mm.
wanted to observe it with my friend Hap from South Carolina,
Hap
and he did
Griffin,
a good
sure.
job. He actually wanted to get the light curve so we can at least know the shape of it. But for my country, it was a really, really great honor to have that, because this was the first asteroid to have an Albanian name.
Oh, okay. So
It
this
was,
isn't really, I mean, it's not just for you, it's for,
yeah. And I know that there are gonna be like kids growing up in Kosovo and knowing that they have this asteroid named with an Albanian name, and hopefully that's gonna be a reason to make them look up and just go explore the space.
uh-huh, uh-huh. That's fantastic. So and I believe that too. I think all of these things are so, can lead to inspiration, and that's what you're doing, Pranvera. I mean, even when you went through the United States, and I remember when you went to the Texas Star Party, there was a lot of buzz that you were coming. Okay, we'd been watching you on Facebook, seeing all your videos and all your outreach and everything, and people were just like, you know, those of us have gone through all this and now we're older, to see young people getting into it really, I mean, it does our heart good, and we know that we think that young people, well, I know that young people can cross generations of people. They have the best, I think, the best opportunity to do that, where you can relate to the very youngest, children, to even old grandpas like me. So, but
Yeah,
I
thank you. Also, I would just like to thank Rick Hill and Robert Reeves, who were the people that actually nominated me to have that asteroid named after my name.
oh sure, absolutely, absolutely. So, uh, one of the things I like to talk about, Pranvera, that we didn't talk about in the last interview, you know,
Yeah.
is what is it that keeps you fascinated? Are you? I mean, for like me, I'm fascinated by when I do astronomy outreach. When I'm not feeling right inside for some reason, if I go to a street corner with a telescope and show people Saturn or the moon or something like that, to people who've never seen it before, and then I see the reaction from them, that they are realizing, wow, we're really in space, and that's real, that gives me that does wonders for me. It's a very
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm doing astronomy outreach, but it's really a selfish thing I'm doing for myself, because I feel so amazing from doing it. And then the other thing that really amazes me is the ability to look back into time and to see starlight from a galaxy that is, millions of light years away. And I know I'm looking back millions of years back into time, but at the same time, it's happening in real time. Those photons are making it. So what is it that things like that
Um,
that fascinate you?
Yeah, like all the astronomers that is always fascinated with the wonders out there, and especially when you get to look through the telescope, you just for a moment forget every problem here down on Earth. I think people are too much focused with the life here on Earth and with the problems, daily routine, and they forget that hey, we are in space. Actually, we're flying on a planet, and there are other cool things out there, and it's nice when you get the opportunity to just show them something bigger than them,
That's
something stronger, something that actually makes us just go out there and look. What if something like us is out there and we don't know about?
yeah.
Like if there is life in the universe,
Mm-hmm.
like why we ended up here, how we actually managed to become these intelligent creatures.
Mm-hmm.
It's just questions and things that all the time everyone is interested to know, not just astronomers,
That's
but
true.
people just forget about it. So it's like it gets someone to go out there and kind of remind everyone, like, hey, stop for a moment and let's just think about this for a second. Let's look at it. What is it showing us? What's telling us?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just a thing I love to do. I do it with pleasure, and I'll keep doing that as long as I can do that.
Right. Right. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, that's fantastic. So your club is now, oh, not your club, but this movement that you've got going on in Kosovo, and really is of movement that is affecting the entire astronomical community around the world. You talked about how tiny Kosovo is and how modest your beginnings were, but here you are through the power of social media, able to talk to and meet and interact with people around the world. You've affected all kinds of people. If we didn't have this social media, it would probably be a long time before I would find out who you were.
Actually, that's
So
true.
yeah,
You're
that's
right.
true. That's true. And maybe never. So
Yeah.
I think that we're very lucky in that regard. But what do you hope or what do you see Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo accomplishing for the future?
Well, our primary goal for right now is to establish an observatory back home because we don't have one, and it's just sometimes not very easy to have to carry your telescopes all over the country. Even though our
Mm,
country is small, but
mm,
still, your telescopes are not going to actually be in a good shape
mm-hmm.
after a long time. Like, you have to carry, and then if you want to observe something very specific, sometimes it's very difficult because it will take a lot of time until you polar align every time, until you set up and you tell all that. It would be a lot easier if you just have an observatory and have people
Sure,
come there,
sure.
and you have a static telescope and you can just slew it and find anything out there, and of course have a better telescope. So we just wanted to do that, and this year we actually had the amendment approved by the Parliament of Kosovo, with all the deputies voted yes to
Mm-hmm.
actually give us the fund to build the first planetarium and observatory. And we had a lot of support and help from the international community. But uh, for some political reasons that went wrong, we still haven't got that fund by the Ministry of Education, which we hope that something is going to happen by the end of this year, or if not, at least next year. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, the bureaucracy in the government, it's easy. I mean, it's difficult, so it's not so easy to work with. And all these has came to the point that we couldn't actually build that observatory this year, even though the Celestron has donated a 14-inch Schmidt Cassegrain to our
Oh
observatory.
wow.
So once we build this observatory back home, they're going to bring it and install it. So that would make the largest telescope in Kosovo. And of course, it would allow us as a team to look for other things, not just do outreach, but probably do research through that. Look for supernovas, for double stars, or for near Earth objects,
Sure.
all these things that also amateurs can be involved with, not a very big telescopes, because sometimes you don't have to have a very big telescope to do some of these things.
That's
And
true.
it would be amazing if I can actually make this with my team happen in Kosovo, because this way people wouldn't have to leave the country to go in somewhere else in
Mm.
order to look through or to do their PhD or to do some research at least and all that. And hopefully in the near future we might also have an astronomy department or astrophysics. So this way I wouldn't have to come over here to actually, continue school and have to leave my country and my
Mm.
family behind.
That's right. That's right. Well, maybe if you go back with a PhD, you can be the professor that heads up the astronomy department in
Yeah,
Kosovo. Yeah,
yeah,
in
sure.
Pristina.
I
That
mean,
would
I
be
would be glad
awesome.
to
That would be awesome.
contribute for my country all the time.
Sure, sure. We have just a few minutes left here, Pranvera. How can people help Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo? Obviously, your organization needs money. You have just people doing things on a strictly volunteer basis. Um, how, how do you use money now? I know that you get money donated through PayPal, I believe. And so where do those dollars go? in your program?
Well, our organization is actually a nonprofit organization. We don't charge
Okay,
for our activities. We also don't charge for the membership in our group. So, if someone wants to help us to do outreach, of course, all this money is going to go for events held mainly in schools in Kosovo. So, they can help us through PayPal. I have a PayPal account which I can publish on Facebook where they can donate.
please.
Can as long as I'm staying here in the United States, they can also write checks because I will return back home in 3 months, and of course that money will be all shown and exposed to the board of directors, and then
Sure.
it will be deposited in the AOK bank account, and it will be only used for outreach activities.
Oh, no, that's
And
excellent.
yeah, I would also like to give a really special thank to Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project because they have been helping us financially and also with equipment all through this time. And I believe that if they wouldn't, support us this much, Stephen Ramsden,
That's right.
probably AOK wouldn't exist today. So we're very thankful of him and everybody else that
Hmm.
has been supporting us, including you as well, Scott.
Oh, I try to do my part. So, and we will do more. We will do more. So,
Thank you.
yep. Okay. So that's fantastic. And in wrapping up, is there anything else that you want to add or?
Well, I just would like to thank everybody else for watching this interview, and I hope this will inspire a few more people. And if anyone, needs to ask any more question, please feel free to comment or just PM me, drop me a message. I will reply as soon as I get a chance.
Well, thank you. And thanks for being part of the Explore Alliance Ambassador Program.
It's my pleasure,
I
and thanks for choosing me for that.
While we were talking, another very famous female astronomer, Rosalie Lopez, had agreed. I just saw a message come up. The magic of social media here. I saw a comment coming up saying she would be honored and happy to participate in this program. So I think she's in Italy right now or someplace. But
Oh, that's close to
yeah,
us.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, yeah. She just got a paper published as well, so it's excellent. And thanks for participating, and we will do this again. Okay?
My pleasure. Thank you for your invitation.
Yeah. Thanks very much. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.